So now the next step. All right, let's look at our guide. And then point number B, create landing page content for categories. See if you need the related pages still too. All right, and then as a subpoint, either put the same content for the subcategories or unique content for each subcategory. Here's what I mean by that. Let's start with the first point. Create landing page content for the categories. All right. Well, here's the first thing you want to do. Let's go to the site, and let's now go to one of the categories, right? So let's say we're talking about creating this a concierge page. Remember, these are concierge pages. So let's go to our buyer category right now. So what we're going to see when this buyer's category comes up, here's our buyer category, and notice how this alone wouldn't serve as a good concierge page, because let's say someone clicks on your buyer's button, which we'll get to there, but we'll do this all at the end again. If someone clicks on your buyer's button, then this doesn't really explain anything because it's just a bunch of blog postings. There's no context. There's nothing to explain to them. So what we need to do is add our content here in this section, give it a different title maybe, and then add some content in this section that does the following. It explains what this section of your website's all about. So like it's the concierge. This buyer section is to X, Y, and Z. You'll be able to do this, this, and this with this section. Or you explain your subcategories. You know, in this buyer section, you'll be able to look at information on how to buy a home. You'll be able to get first-time home buyer information, investor information. You know, whatever the case is, it's your concierge where you just like your spokesman for the page. You tell them everything the page is about. So here's what I mean by that. I'm not going to spend time creating content at this moment. I'm just going to give the example. So let's go back to our categories, and here's what you got to do. Click into the category you're thinking. So I'm going to click into buyers right now. All right, because we're talking about this buyer page. We need to make the concierge general information that defines what this section of your website is all about. All right. So now we're here at the edit category page. What you have to do is scroll down to the very bottom. See where it says introductory headline and introductory content? Well, what this does, and by the way, I have a separate video tutorial on this that I'm including with the outline if this is going too fast. But basically, on to the point, what these two sections do is simply change the following. The name headline, the name buyers can be changed by changing your buying headline here. Your introductory content is what content you want to appear here. You could put images with HTML, you could put video and all that kind of stuff. Alright, so you can put whatever you want there, but let's just for now do text to keep the marketing purpose on point. Alright, so the headline, let's just say if we named it Buying a Home. Let's just do it for the sake of the example. And then this is where your content goes. Okay, so let's say this was your content, right? And now you can make it bigger as well if you'd like to make it easier, whatever the case is. So now I click on update, and what we're going to see is we're going to see the beginning of this concierge concept page being created. It says item updated, so we go back to our category. Now we click on refresh, and there we go. So now here's what this has become. Let's say I clicked on buyers, because let's say it's across the top, which it's going to be by the end of this at the end of these step-by-step points. Let's say I'm a buyer, clicked on buyers. Well, now I land here. It says buying a home, and this is the common way. Let me compare this to the common way pages exist, because this speaks to the next point. All right, the common way real estate agents have their buying page is that it'll just be a single page, like it says buying a home, and it'll have all this information about buying a home. But remember, going back to what we said in the beginning, these one-page information pages aren't enough, because buying a home now means I'm a different kind of buyer. What if I'm an investor? What if I'm what if I'm a first-time home buyer? What if I'm a move-up buyer? You know, whatever the case is, there's different types. So what we need to do now is the concierge info is here. You see this? This has all the different topics, and we're going to talk about the sidebar shortly, so you'll see the full concierge section develop. But notice that concept. Instead of just being a core page like this would be, now below the page we have all the different topics that you've been talking about related to buyers. So what a great deal. Okay, now we see interest rate topics. Now we see topics about waiting or whatever the case is, first-time home buyer topics. But the whole point is this content here, it should be the concierge of information that tells them what is this buying section all about, meaning they could find information about first-time home buyers, investors, and everything. So pretty much this should be the guide that tells them what all of this content below is all about, and it needs to tell them what to do. So like let's say we have a category called Deal of the Month. Well, then this content here would talk about, in here you could also find the latest deals of the month, and what deals a month are, blah, blah, blah. You briefly describe it so that when they're scrolling down and they see what a great deal and they click on it, then they're going to understand what that's all about. So the whole point is this becomes your main page of content, but then all the rest is your blog postings having to do with buying a home. All right. And here's one key thing you need to understand. The way that the default way that these categories are organized is by the latest postings. Notice that this is by date, February 18, or all of them were put on the 18th as test postings. But basically, notice how this is all put in by dates, right? Well, when it's put in by date, if I did one more blog posting right now at this exact moment and put it in, it's going to appear above What a Great Deal. So the whole point is this just shows your latest content, all right? So the whole point you need to do is make it clear this is the latest news on this area. But then you should also be explaining here that what this area is and just touch on the subtopics you touch on, or tell them like a concierge, you could do this with this information. You could go here for this information. And we're gonna, as we go to the next steps, we're gonna see how to take advantage of the sidebar to do the same thing. So this is pretty much step one of the watching the concierge page develop. So now here's one common question that you're gonna have in this point of the process. A lot of you may already have a page called buyers, right? Because notice the URL up here, it's called buyers. But what if you already have a page? Because understand, this is a WordPress category technically. Remember, we're dealing with categories. So maybe you already have a page called buyers. Now, if you already have a page called buyers, here, I'll just show you as the example. Alright, so I'm going to find the buying a home page, and I just opened it up right now. So remember, this is a category right here. If you want to know what categories are, it's always from this section. Any page that shows you the blog postings, like archive, these concierge pages that we're talking about, these are categories. Now, let's say you had a duplicate page, all right? So now I'm opening another buying a home page, which let's say this is the traditional way you have your buyers or sellers or investors, whatever the case is, you have your general idea of pages, right? Let's say you had a buying a home page. I just made one just with blank stuff just to show you. But normally you have like buying a home, or maybe buying in Irvine. You have some kind of general topic page on the subject, and it looks like this. It's just a general page like this that has a video, maybe it has a photo, it has text talking about the home buying process. Well, what I'm talking about here is making this general page function, because remember, this buying a home page is an actual page function in WordPress, meaning it's a page called buying a home. But the thing with pages is that when you create more content related to buying, it doesn't show up here by default, because a page is supposed to be one bit of static content. Now that's different from a category, because categories are supposed to be your archives of all the continual content you update. So it's better to build your website using categories here than it is using pages here. Alright, so the whole point is you want your pages, your landing pages, and this is going to be the case for all of them. So even for your what will my home really sell for page, your going back to all these, the deal of the month page. Remember coming back to the very beginning, remember how we talked about how good or bad market, instead of that being a single page where you have like all these data, or you have a single page that goes to other pages, instead it's going to be a category, your concierge archive. Your what will my home really sell for, that's going to be your concierge archive for home values. Your deal of the month, that's not going to be one single page. All that stuff I talked about earlier, remember, it's not going to be that anymore. It's going to be your concierge archive, and your concierge archive is going to be like this. It's going to be your general content that you have here, and then all the latest blog postings having to do with that subject. Alright, and your general content, again to remind you, should be like a concierge, telling them exactly what this section is all about. What is your buying a home section all about? What can they find here? Investor, first-time home buyer, etc. And now here's how you would marry the two. So if we go to our categories page, and let's go back into our buyers thing to add the content. One thing that you might immediately be asking is, well, how the heck do we put video and all those other stuff? Because there's no visual buttons. It's hard to put that stuff, and you guys don't know HTML because that's coding, and that's a whole different world. So here's how you do it. Here's the shortcut to doing that. You go to your buying a home page, or whatever page, or maybe the category you're making here was never a page to exist just yet. So what you want to do is the following. First, go to your page section of your website. So here we are on pages, and now I'm going to take the duplicate buying a home page that we have. Remember, this is the original old school way of doing it. We have a core bit of content, our duplicate buying a home page. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this page, and I'm going to edit this page. I'm going to click on edit. Alright? And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all the content from this page and I'm going to put it onto my category. But the whole thing is, well, how the heck do you take all these codes, right? Because you guys don't know how to do image codes because you guys use the buttons, let's say, to add content and all that stuff, right? So you don't know HTML. So here's what you got to do. Click on the tab that says HTML right here, and then you'll see all the code. In this section here, all you got to do is click into it, select all the code exactly as it is. Right click, put cut, or put copy, either one. I like to put cut to verify it was all copied because sometimes you might miss some HTML, so as a test I do cut. And then now let's go to our category page. And here we were, right? So now in this content part, we're going to select all, we're going to delete it, and now we're going to paste our code here. So watch what happens now when I click on update. And as it's up, now it says it's updated. And now here's our buying a home page as it was. And now here's our buying a home category before we updated. When I hit refresh, they're now going to look the same. You see that? So now our category of buying a home looks just like our page of buying a home, but the difference is our page, the old school style of doing it, the non-concierge style, doesn't give me anything else. But our buyer category, when here, that same content, when I scroll down, it gives me loads of other points of interest that will actually compel me to want to stay on this buyer section. This now has become a resource for me because instead of being a static page, as you see here, of like, let's say, here's the things you need to know about buying a home. It's not going to leave me like as a buyer saying, well, what about this? Where do I find this? It's not going to leave me hanging. You know, like this is like going to the concierge and then let's go back to the whole example of you're at a hotel, you go to the concierge and you ask him, where are some great places to eat? And if he immediately says, oh, here's one great Italian place, go check this out. And what if you're like, I don't like Italian? Then that's not a good service to you. So instead, what does the concierge do? Great, what are you looking for? Well, the old school way of doing this is like offering them only Italian food without knowing if they really like it. If a buyer clicks on your buying a buyer's page and all they get is the information you're just giving them, nothing that they may even be interested in, you've failed on that page. So the whole point of the concierge, to come back to that point, now I'm on the concierge page, is that when you give them the information, you're telling them, you're asking them a question back, or you're giving them as a general resource. This page is meant to give you information on first-time home buying. You could check that out below, or this is meant to give you on investing tips. And when they scroll down, they're going to see all these different topics. So now this is like you as the concierge asking them, are you looking to buy a home in 30 days? Are you looking to learn what it takes to, to get a short sale offer accepted? Whatever the case is, you're now speaking to them, and now this is what's going to compel them to want to stay on this section. All right. So that's the general point. Let's keep developing this because this is just the beginning. All right. Let's open up our lesson plan back, and now see right here. See if you need the related page still too. What I mean by that is the following. Since this is a duplicate page, you don't need this page anymore. This page, it's a duplicate page. Buying a home, since you have the exact same content now on this buying a home concierge category, you don't need this page anymore. But here's the thing, if you've had this page on your site, you don't want to delete it. Alright, you don't just want to delete pages, okay? So what you need to do is what's called a 301 redirect, and this is what that means. Alright, so let's go to edit. What you need to do is tell Google and tell your website visitors that if they click on your buying a home page, remember the page, I'm using the word specifically, pages are your static content, categories are your concierge of archives. If someone clicks on your page here, you want them to immediately be redirected to your archive, to your concierge archive. So here's what you have to do. First, go to your concierge archive, and you'll see, and take the URL. So see here at the top, this is the concierge archive, right? What you gotta do is the following: take the URL, and by the way, I have a separate video tutorial on this. If I'm going too fast, I'm including the video tutorial on using a 301 redirect, so don't worry. But all you gotta do is take the content, go to your page now we're at edit page, we're at the buying page that we just duplicated, and you're gonna scroll down to this section here called 301 redirect. All you're gonna do is paste your category into there that you just took. Now we scroll up, and we're gonna hit update. You can't see the update button, but I just hit update right now. And once this updates, watch what happens. this page, see page updated. Now when I click on view page, instead of showing me the here it is right here, instead of taking me to the page buying a home as a static page, it's now redirecting me to the proper archive page. So that's the proper way, the first step in your infrastructure. That's what I meant by that question of see if you need the related pages too, because most likely, since you're duplicating the content, make your pages 301 redirect to your archive, to your concierge archive pages. All right. And now here's another point about create landing page content for categories. You want to do this for all your categories, of course, but then I have another point. Either put the same content for the subcategories or unique content for each subcategory. Here's what I mean by that. This is the general buying a home concierge page. But remember, let's go back to our categories. We have subcategories. We have a deal of the month. We have first-time home buyers. We have investors. When I click on the deal of the month category, let's go find it. Let's go. I'm going to open up the deal of the month category. When I open up the deal of the month, when I open this page up, notice that that content is gone, right? So what you need to do is recreate that exact same content. So see right here, see if you still need the related pages still too, or I'm sorry, that either put the same content for the subcategories or unique content for each subcategory, meaning decide the following. Decide if the content from your buying your home in general can be applied to your subcategories like here. If the answer is no, because remember, you want it to be laser focused. If the answer is no, which is pretty much going to be about 90% of the time, 99% of the time, you're not going to use the same content, then what you need to do as well is in your categories, go into each of these pages, like go to deal of the month, for example, and you're going to now do the same thing of putting in content, introductory headline, you know, the best monthly deals in I'll call it Pepperwood City. And then now introductory content, this is my text. We already saw this whole point, but the whole point is now I've created a general information content page for the deal of the month. So now not only is my concierge page good, you know, my general buying a home concierge page good, if I click deeper and I end up clicking into your deal of the month page, when I hit refresh, you're going to see this now gives me a concierge of information about the deal of the month page. So the best monthly deal in Pepperwood City, then it has your general information, and then it's going to have the breakdown of all the latest postings having to only do with this category. So that was the whole purpose of doing the subcategories, all right? So let me rewind, because this is very important, and then what I'm going to do after this is I'm going to press pause and I'm going to organize all the rest of the cities and categories. Or actually, you know what? I'm going to hit pause right now and explain everything. So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and start explaining everything else. Alright, so let's go to our subcategories and just let's see how the content looks. So here's buying a home. Now, here's all of our categories in the list. Let's go to one of our subcategories. We have buyers. Let's click on first-time home buyers now. And the whole idea is you want to have custom content related to first-time home buyers, as you'd see here. Alright, and then now notice how the category archives here, the topics all have to do with just the first-time home buyers. You see these topics, interest rates are way down, waiting can be a gift or curse, first-time knowing. So the whole point is this first-time home buyers page becomes a concierge of information laser focused only on first-time home buyers, right? And now you see all these topics, they all have to do with first-time home buyers. And to rewind, this is what we did when we did the organize your categories blog post into subcategories. Alright, we organize those into those points, remember, and this is what we did with creating the subcategories here with the different topics. So let's just go even further now. Or let's just go to a different category. Let's say we go to the parent of sellers, right? We go to your main seller concierge page, and here it is, right? And now notice the content here, it's just pretty much everything. Local neighborhood guide, are you still advertising in the paper? And this has to do with how we market your home for sale. This is just what else? Prepare for more short sales, neighborhood trends. And now let's go to our next category, one of the inner ones. Because remember, if this isn't making sense, this content here is supposed to tell the visitor. And just wait till we go over the sidebar shortly. It's supposed to tell the visitor what topics you're talking about, what they could get from this page. What is it all about? All right. So now let's go to the subcategories, the child categories of sellers. So let's say the how we market your home for sale. Let's say I'm interested in hiring you. I'm a seller. I'm interested in seeing, oh, what could you do to sell my home? So I click on how we market your home for sale. And then I get, let's just say I get your general information, a general concierge of information telling me what this section is all about. And then as I scroll down, what do I see? Topics that are only related to this subject. Are you still advertising the paper without online marketing? Get our pre-listing packet to learn how we will sell your home. Basically, the whole point is your content is laser focused on the subject, and then your blog posts become the actual points of capture. Alright, so now let me rewind real quick because this point has to be hit home. Remember earlier on, going back to the general marketing principles where I said your number 1 and number 2, these are the main points. Your pages should be a concierge of information, and then number 2, the question I said, what about when someone, where do you capture the lead? And I said your content will be the main lead capture items, not so much your landing pages. Your landing pages serve as the concierge to all your lead capture posts within the topic. Here's what I mean by that. Your individual topics, this is the concierge, and you're not capturing leads right here. But when let's say I'm a seller and I'm like, oh, let's say I'm just disappointed with the agent I'm with right now and because they're not doing enough advertising in my head. Well, your general bit of information isn't going to appeal to me. But when I scroll down and I see this, are you still advertising the paper without online marketing too? This might appeal to me. And when I click here, this is where the lead capture happens. I see it's a blog post, and I see it's you talking about it, and then at the end, let's say at the end of you're doing your blog post here, right? Well, at the end of it, you now say, see, this is your lead capture. This is where you try to capture the lead by entering a contact form on the actual laser focused content that got me here. So see how our online marketing program will get your home sold. So far, let's rewind. If I had clicked through, let me show you why this better conversion. I'm on the seller concierge page, right? And let's say I'm a visitor, I'm a seller, right? And I'm like, okay, I want to just find out information about, and whatever the case is, anything. And then I see your concierge info. It says how you guys market homes. You talk about how you market homes, how you give local neighborhood trends. And I'm like, okay, great, let me scroll down. And then let's just say I end up, for whatever reason, I end up coming across this, are you still advertising my paper? And I'm like, oh, this is good information. And then when I come here, I see that, wow, this is really good information about how you market homes. And then now I have the contact form of you requesting now I could actually submit to you on the actual blog posting itself. You get that? I really hope this is making sense. So your blog postings, that's what I meant by point number 2. Your content will be the main lead capture items, not so much your landing pages. Because remember, the page called How We Market Your Home for Sale, this is not the page you're trying to convert someone on. Because there's no lead capture points. What you're trying to convert them on is on your actual articles. Now let me rewind and explain it in terms of the concierge at a hotel. Picture this now being one of the menus. So let's go to sellers. Let's go to our general seller topics, because I need to use this analogy so it makes full sense. All right. So let's say I'm a seller. I clicked on sellers. And let's make this analogous to you go to the concierge and you ask, where are some great restaurants to eat? Instead of him saying, okay, great. Well, here's Italian food. And he gives you one little choice. Instead, he says you have Russian, Italian, German, you have Chinese, whatever the case is. Now, this is what your seller's page becomes. You give a menu of all these options, and then let's just say I end up choosing, and I'm going to show you how to organize your sidebar better. But let's say I end up choosing, oh, I want to see how you market my home for sale. And I click into there. That's equivalent to me saying to the concierge, oh, tell me about your Italian restaurants around here. And he's like, great. And then now I'm on the how we market your home sale homepage, and instead of me now saying, okay, I want to now sell my home with you because I haven't even chosen, instead I'm giving a menu of choices to see what are the topics that would interest me about selling your home. So now I'm going to click on, are you still advertising the paper? This is analogous to you asking the concierge, and he gives you a bunch of Italian choices, and then you choose, oh, I like the one called Puccini and Panetti, and then you end up getting the details on that restaurant. Well, what's the next step now? That's the same thing as you clicking on, are you still advertising in the paper? That's them now going deeper. Now I'm looking at the menu, or I'm looking at information about that restaurant. That's the same thing as your visitor now looking at information about you advertising in the paper. So I'm very deep into the process. That's the point. So now here on this page, let's say I'm your seller. I like this information, and now at this point is when I will actually be ready to convert into a lead. Just like if I'm at the concierge and I ask them all those points, and I finally come down to one restaurant and I look at the menu and I'm like, I like this. Now what do? I'm going to pick up the phone and make a reservation. I'm going to actually convert right there. That's how this whole process works as well. I got all the way to your individual blog posting, and I like what I read, and now I'm ready to convert. So this is where you ask for the order. You say, see how our marketing program works, and then contact me. This is so much better than doing the method of, remember at the beginning, what will my home sell for? And then let's just say, oh, here's general information, now fill out a form and ask us. That doesn't work compared to this method that I just described, where you have them go to your category pages and then they go deeper into a subject that relates to them, and then they go deeper into a specific topic that relates to them. Now they're ready to convert. So that's the whole idea of this concierge of information. And now right now it was a little bit hard to explain this, because here's one problem. When they're at the seller page, and I'm going to explain this point one more time, or maybe like 50 more times actually. But let's say I'm first at the seller's page. This is a serious problem of, well, how do you get them to see your latest categories? Because notice, remember, the blog postings here, these show up by the latest dates, meaning the most recent ones you've posted. How the heck do you highlight your best content? Or how the heck do you let them know that you have subcategories called how we market your home, or price trends in the neighborhood? Well, that's through using widgets in the sidebar, which we're about to go over, and then that's through other options, is by choosing which content you want to highlight at the top first. I'm going to show you how to do both of those to complete this concierge page. Alright, so let's go through our steps. But there's a couple things before that. So let's go back now. Under organizing our content, create landing page content for categories. We did that. We just did either put the same content into the subcategories or unique content for each category. I'm actually going to change this to put unique content into each subcategory, because realistically each of your subcategories are going to have to be unique content. Alright, so and now let's go to the next section.